Have you ever felt the sting of rejection, a door closed firmly in your face? A moment where life seemed to whisper, "Not for you," and left you wondering if it had robbed you of something valuable. What if we could turn that painful no into a stepping stone, a quiet nudge pushing us towards something greater? This journey we're about to embark on explores how rejection, a word often met with dread, can be transformed through the lens of Stoicism into a catalyst for personal growth, resilience, and renewed purpose. Imagine a world where every setback didn't lead to self-doubt, but fueled a deeper understanding of yourself, an unshakable inner strength. A world where rejection isn't a roadblock, but a redirection to something more aligned with your true self. In this video, we'll dive into 10 powerful lessons inspired by Stoic philosophy that empower you to turn life's no into your hidden advantage. Are you ready to transform rejection into a tool that builds you up rather than tears you down? Are you prepared to view life's rejections not as signs of inadequacy, but as invitations to grow, reflect, and thrive? We're about to delve into how Stoicism provides a timeless blueprint for using every rejection to your favor. And trust me, the final lesson will leave you with a perspective so profound that it may very well change the way you handle every setback from here on out. Now let's begin our journey with the first lesson, embracing rejection as redirection. 1. Embrace rejection as redirection. When we face rejection, our initial instinct is often to view it as a barrier, a definitive no that stops us in our tracks. But, as Stoicism teaches, what if that no was actually a gentle redirection, guiding us towards a path that resonates more deeply with our strengths and purpose? This lesson lies at the heart of understanding how rejection can serve as a quiet mentor, urging us to re-evaluate our path and find renewed clarity in our goals. Why do we view rejection as failure rather than guidance? The answer, perhaps, lies in our attachment to specific outcomes. We envision success along a certain path, so when that path is blocked, we interpret it as a personal failing. Yet, if we detach ourselves from the outcome and consider that perhaps life has better plans, rejection becomes a compass rather than a condemnation. Have you ever thought that rejection could be a way of saying, "Look elsewhere, there's something even more fitting for you"? This concept of redirection isn't about forcing optimism, but about realigning our perspective. Each time we face a closed door, we have the opportunity to see it as life's way of saying, "This isn't your way forward." Instead of resisting, we might ask, "What new direction is this rejection pointing me towards?" In Stoicism, acceptance is not about surrendering to fate passively. It's about finding the freedom to choose our response, regardless of the circumstances. Through this lens, rejection is simply a signal to recalibrate, to search deeper, and perhaps uncover a more authentic path. Consider the last time you were turned down for an opportunity, whether it was a job, a relationship, or a personal goal. How did you respond? Did you feel defeated, or did you pause to reflect on what other avenues might be available? In moments like these, Stoicism teaches us the value of embracing the present reality instead of clinging to a vision of what could have been. Each no can be seen as a chance to take stock, to see if we might be pursuing something that does not align with our truest values or talents. To embrace rejection as redirection is to trust in the journey itself. Marcus Aurelius, one of Stoicism's most celebrated thinkers, reminds us to act with purpose, even when the outcome is uncertain. We may not control the door that closes, but we control how we respond, how we pivot, and where we decide to focus our energy next. Do we choose despair, or do we choose discovery? That is the real question. This shift in mindset transforms rejection from a personal wound into an opportunity for wisdom. Each closed door becomes less a point of frustration and more a meaningful guide toward areas where we may thrive. In embracing this view, rejection no longer appears as a limitation, but as a whisper that says, "There is something more." And each redirection strengthens our resilience, making us less dependent on external validation and more confident in our own path. So next time you face rejection, ask yourself, what new path is opening up because of this? Embracing this perspective leads naturally to the next lesson: building inner resilience, the cornerstone of turning rejection into growth. 2. Build inner resilience. Rejection, at its core, is a challenge to our sense of self-worth. It often stings because it collides with our expectations, pushing us to question our abilities, our choices, and even our place in the world. But through Stoicism, we learn that true resilience lies not in avoiding rejection, but in mastering our response to it. Building inner resilience means nurturing a strength that endures beyond any no or setback, creating a wellspring of self-assurance that rejection cannot diminish. What is it that truly makes rejection hurt? Often, it is our attachment to outcomes, our desire for things to unfold according to our plans. When that desire is thwarted, we may find ourselves overwhelmed by frustration, disappointment, or even anger. But Stoic thought reminds us that we cannot control the actions or opinions of others, only our own. So, in the face of rejection, we have the choice. Will we react emotionally, or will we respond thoughtfully? This choice is the essence of inner resilience. Imagine the power of staying calm in the face of rejection. Instead of letting a door closed by someone else define us, we can step back and ask, why does this situation upset me? What insecurity is this rejection stirring up? This reflection brings us closer to the true source of our pain, revealing that it often has less to do with the rejection itself and more with how we perceive ourselves. Through the lens of Stoicism, we can see rejection not as a personal failure but as an opportunity to examine our inner beliefs and strengthen our emotional foundation. To cultivate resilience, consider each rejection as a test of your inner strength. Do you respond with frustration, or do you allow yourself to remain composed and focused on your journey? This composure, a central tenet of Stoic philosophy, teaches us to value our actions and choices independently of others' judgments. We are urged to ground our self-worth in our own values and efforts rather than in external validation. As Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Can we learn to appreciate rejection as a practice in resilience? Every rejection faced with calmness is a small victory over ourselves. With time, these small victories accumulate, forming a wellspring of strength that becomes our inner armor. When we choose to respond calmly, we are not suppressing our feelings, but rather disciplining them, allowing them to exist without letting them control us. Through this process, we build a sense of self that remains unshaken by the opinions of others. Resilience is like a muscle. It grows stronger with each exercise. With each moment, we choose calmness over reaction. In the practice of Stoicism, resilience is an ongoing process of learning to be at peace with the things we cannot control. Rejection then becomes a natural part of our training, an event that reinforces our ability to stand firm in our principles, even when circumstances challenge us. When you encounter rejection, can you view it as an opportunity to reinforce your strength rather than weaken your resolve? With each rejection, we learn more about who we are, independent of how others see us. We become anchored in our own values, our own journey, and our own self-worth. This resilience makes us less dependent on external affirmations, empowering us to navigate life's highs and lows with equanimity. By building resilience, we transform rejection into a stepping stone for growth, one that solidifies our inner strength rather than undermines it. And as we cultivate this resilience, we begin to realize that actions speak louder than words, a realization that leads us naturally to the next lesson, demonstrating our value through actions, not validation. 3. Demonstrate your value through actions. In a world that often places value on recognition and applause, it can feel discouraging when our efforts go unnoticed. But Stoicism teaches us that true worth isn't dependent on external acknowledgement. Instead, we're encouraged to demonstrate our value quietly through consistent, purposeful action. When rejection tempts us to shrink back, this lesson reminds us that our worth isn't defined by others' perceptions, but by our own integrity and perseverance. How can we show our value when no one seems to be watching? Imagine someone doubting your abilities or overlooking your potential. The natural urge may be to prove them wrong, to seek validation by any means. But in reality, the most profound way to demonstrate value is not through loud declarations, but through steady, quiet competence. Instead of letting rejection breed self-doubt, we can use it as fuel to deepen our skills, strengthen our dedication, and pursue our goals with unwavering commitment. Consider a situation where you felt ignored or dismissed. Did you let it define you, or did you let it refine you? Stoicism offers us a path of action and self-improvement rather than reaction. Instead of seeking to change others' opinions, we focus on what we can control, our own actions, our own excellence. Rejection then becomes an invitation to shine, not for anyone else's sake, but for our own. Each project completed with care, each responsibility handled with integrity, becomes a testament to our worth, independent of who acknowledges it. Imagine the quiet power of letting your results speak for you. In the face of rejection, we can choose to channel our energy not into proving others wrong, but into refining our craft and pursuing personal excellence. If someone deems you unworthy or unqualified, that's their perception, not your reality. Your reality is defined by the dedication and effort you bring to each endeavor, not by others' oversight. In what ways can you silently build a foundation of competence that stands regardless of others' opinions? This approach aligns deeply with Stoic principles. Marcus Aurelius himself believed that our actions reveal our true character, especially when those actions are unnoticed or unacknowledged. To cultivate a sense of self-worth that isn't reliant on recognition, we must prioritize quality in what we do, regardless of applause or criticism. This way, rejection doesn't become a source of bitterness, but a reminder to continue our journey with purpose, driven by internal standards rather than external rewards. Through this process, we develop a quiet confidence that others begin to notice, even if we're no longer looking for their approval. This confidence, born of consistency and self-assurance, becomes our silent response to rejection. Can you remember a time when you let your actions speak louder than words, when your dedication and results stood as their own proof of your worth? When we commit to demonstrating our value through our actions, we are no longer swayed by fleeting opinions or temporary setbacks. Instead, we build a body of work, a personal ethos that speaks for itself. In choosing this path, we embody the Stoic idea of self-mastery, showing up with dedication regardless of recognition. And as we do, we create a legacy of competence that withstands any rejection or dismissal. From here, let us move to the next lesson, practicing silence and self-reflection, a powerful tool for handling rejection and cultivating inner peace. 4. Practice silence and self-reflection. When faced with rejection, one of the most powerful responses is silence. In a world that often equates silence with weakness, Stoicism reveals it to be a source of strength and self-control. Choosing silence in response to rejection is not about passive avoidance. Rather, it's an intentional act of self-reflection, a moment to pause, regroup, and protect one's inner peace. Through this silence, we gain clarity and recalibrate our energy toward things that truly matter. Why is silence such a powerful response to rejection? When we experience a setback, the instinct is often to react, to demand explanations, seek validation, or confront those who we feel have wronged us. But this reaction can lead us away from the calm and control that Stoic philosophy champions. What if, instead of responding outwardly, we turn our focus inward? This silence, far from being passive, allows us to detach from the immediate sting of rejection and view the situation with greater clarity. Practicing silence in moments of rejection gives us the space to process our emotions without letting them control us. What do we truly feel? Is it disappointment, frustration, or insecurity? In this quiet space, we can identify the sources of our discomfort, understanding that the rejection itself is often less painful than our interpretation of it. By stepping back, we begin to realize that our self-worth need not be shaken by others' opinions, and we cultivate a sense of internal calm that cannot be easily disturbed. This silence is also an opportunity to protect our energy. Every reaction, every word spent on trying to change others' minds or prove ourselves drains our mental reserves. Why waste energy on what we cannot control? Through silence, we create a boundary that preserves our inner peace, a reminder that not every slight or oversight requires a response. In moments of quiet reflection, we regain our focus and strength, ready to direct our energy towards growth rather than defending our worth to others. Marcus Aurelius frequently advised himself to practice restraint, to avoid wasting words or thoughts on matters that did not serve his purpose. Can we do the same? When we choose silence, we choose dignity over desperation. We no longer chase validation. Instead, we turn inward, finding reassurance within ourselves rather than in external sources. This silence doesn't imply we ignore the rejection, but rather that we use it as a moment to reflect on our values, our goals, and the paths we wish to pursue. Silence also has a mysterious power of its own. In a world where people often expect reactions, our silence can stand out, quietly asserting that we are not easily shaken, that our self-worth does not hinge on others' opinions. Is it possible that our silence says more than any words could? This composed silence can command respect, showing that we are masters of our emotions rather than slaves to them. Choosing silence and reflection isn't about avoiding confrontation. It's about choosing our battles wisely and preserving our energy for pursuits that matter. By practicing this silence, we lay a foundation of resilience, ensuring that rejection does not destabilize us. And as we quietly gather strength in moments of solitude, we prepare ourselves to respond to the world from a place of calm, untroubled by others' opinions. Now that we've explored the power of silence and self-reflection, let's move on to the next lesson, focusing on self-improvement as a response to rejection, turning inward to grow stronger with each setback. 5. Focus on self-improvement. Rejection has a unique way of exposing areas within ourselves that may need strengthening. Instead of allowing it to wound our self-esteem, Stoicism teaches us to view rejection as an opportunity to shift our focus inward, embracing self-improvement as a response. Through growth and skill building, we convert the energy of rejection into a source of empowerment rather than disappointment. What if each rejection was a gentle nudge to become a better version of ourselves? When we face rejection, it's easy to fall into a cycle of doubt, questioning our abilities and worth. However, Stoicism reminds us that the opinions of others don't define our value. Our actions and efforts do. Instead of lingering in feelings of inadequacy, we can ask ourselves, how can I improve? What steps can I take to enhance my skills, mindset, or resilience? By directing our energy towards self-improvement, we transform rejection into a tool for personal growth. Consider this approach. Each time you're overlooked or dismissed, treat it as feedback, not about your inherent worth, but about areas that may benefit from refinement. What skills could you enhance? Which personal traits could you develop further? This practice doesn't imply that the rejection was justified, but it gives you an actionable path forward, allowing you to take ownership of your growth instead of feeling victimized by someone else's choice. Rejection, in this sense, becomes a mirror reflecting opportunities for self-development rather than a verdict on our value. Self-improvement isn't about proving others wrong. It's about proving to yourself that you are capable of growth and evolution. Imagine redirecting your energy towards mastering a new skill or refining an existing one, not for validation but for the quiet satisfaction of personal progress. In the end, it is this dedication to self-mastery that builds a foundation of confidence, rendering you less reliant on external approval. As you grow and strengthen, rejection becomes less a source of insecurity and more a stepping stone on your journey of self-discovery. In Stoicism, self-improvement is an ongoing process, not a means to an end. Marcus Aurelius wrote extensively about the importance of constant learning, emphasizing that one's character and skills should continually evolve. Can we adopt this mindset, seeing each challenge as an invitation to refine ourselves further? This shift allows us to take setbacks in stride, viewing each as a chance to improve rather than a source of defeat. By focusing on self-improvement, we gradually build a life full of meaning and purpose, one that is no longer swayed by the opinions of others. What could be more powerful than creating a sense of self-worth that doesn't fluctuate with each rejection? This commitment to growth, fueled by a desire for personal excellence rather than validation, becomes our strongest shield against rejection. Each day, each effort contributes to a quieter but more profound sense of self-assurance that withstands the judgments of others. Embracing self-improvement over seeking approval is a liberating practice, freeing us from the need for recognition and allowing us to focus on what truly matters, our own journey. In doing so, we cultivate a sense of self that stands firm and unshaken, regardless of external circumstances. From here, let us explore the next lesson, detaching from negative influences, a practice that complements self-improvement by creating a space for positivity and growth. 6. Detach from negative influences. As we navigate life's rejections and setbacks, one essential skill we must develop is learning when to let go. Detaching from negative influences, whether people, environments, or pursuits, allows us to create space for growth, resilience, and positivity. Through Stoicism, we understand that holding on to those who undermine our well-being does little but drain our energy and cloud our perspective. Instead, we focus on cultivating relationships and activities that uplift and inspire us. Why is it so difficult to detach from what doesn't serve us? Often it's our attachment to familiarity that keeps us tied to situations or people who may not support our growth. Yet, Stoicism teaches us that true freedom lies in recognizing and releasing what weighs us down. By detaching from these influences, we not only protect our mental peace, but also create room for relationships and goals that align with our values. This doesn't mean rejecting people or situations out of bitterness. It means choosing to invest our energy where it can flourish. Think about a time when you felt unsupported or belittled. Did it motivate you, or did it make you question your worth? The Stoic approach to such situations is to recognize that our worth isn't defined by how others perceive us, but by how we perceive ourselves. If certain relationships or environments cause us to doubt our value, it's worth considering a boundary that preserves our inner peace. Is your energy best spent defending your worth to others, or is it better invested in nurturing your own growth? Detachment is not about building walls, but about drawing boundaries. It's about understanding that some relationships or pursuits, no matter how familiar, may not be conducive to our journey of self-improvement. How often have you held on to something simply because it was comfortable, even though it no longer served your well-being? In learning to detach, we gain the freedom to refocus on relationships and activities that align with our purpose, filling our lives with constructive influences rather than draining ones. Marcus Aurelius often reflected on the importance of choosing our associations wisely. In his writings, he emphasized that we should strive to be in the company of those who inspire and uplift us, rather than those who distract or diminish us. Can we adopt this wisdom in our own lives? Detaching from negative influences may mean distancing ourselves from certain people, habits, or even thoughts that no longer align with our growth. Through this process, we create an environment in which our strengths can develop freely, unencumbered by negativity or doubt. This practice also applies to our inner dialogue. Often, the most powerful negative influence comes from our own self-criticism. What if we detached from these unproductive thoughts? Instead of allowing rejection to fuel self-doubt, we can learn to observe these thoughts with detachment, acknowledging them without letting them take root. By doing so, we weaken their hold on us and create a more positive mental landscape that nurtures resilience and self-confidence. Ultimately, detaching from negative influences allows us to preserve our energy for pursuits that enrich and fulfill us. It grants us the freedom to focus on what truly matters, letting go of anything that distracts or detracts from our well-being. In this way, we learn to respect our own peace, choosing to spend time with people and engage in activities that elevate our sense of purpose. Now that we've explored the power of detaching from negativity, let's move to the next lesson: engaging in new experiences as a way of broadening our horizons and turning rejection into an opportunity for growth. 7. Engage in new experiences. When rejection closes a door, it often opens an invitation to step into the unknown. Instead of retreating into comfort zones, Stoicism encourages us to use rejection as a springboard for exploring new paths and embracing fresh experiences. By seeking novelty and challenging ourselves, we gain resilience and discover parts of ourselves that might have remained hidden otherwise. How often do we let rejection limit our possibilities? In the face of setback, our instinct is often to pull back, to retreat into the familiar and safe. Yet, it is precisely in these moments that stepping beyond what is known can be most rewarding. What if every rejection, every no, was an invitation to say yes to something you hadn't considered before? New experiences aren't just distractions, they are powerful tools for growth, expanding our perspectives and strengthening our adaptability. Imagine being turned down for a job you desired or rejected by a person you admired. The initial reaction may be to withdraw, to let this experience narrow your view. But what if you allowed it to open new doors? When life turns you away, where else can you direct your energy? Perhaps it's learning a new skill, pursuing a hobby, or traveling to a place that challenges your worldview. These experiences don't erase the pain of rejection, but they provide a productive outlet for it, transforming discomfort into discovery. Can you remember a time when trying something new broadened your perspective? Stoic philosophy teaches us that our greatest growth often comes when we are outside our comfort zone. In moments of rejection, consider new experiences as opportunities to reinforce your resilience. Each experience, whether big or small, adds to your character and self-knowledge, making you more adaptable to life's inevitable uncertainties. This approach also aligns with the Stoic idea of amor fati, or love of fate. Marcus Aurelius often wrote about accepting the course of life as it unfolds, embracing it fully rather than resisting it. What if you could view each rejection as a part of this greater unfolding, an opportunity to explore paths you might have otherwise ignored? By seeking out new experiences, we not only gain perspective, but also practice gratitude for the journey itself, embracing every twist and turn as part of our growth. Engaging in new experiences helps us understand that rejection doesn't diminish us. It adds dimension to our lives. The more we explore, the more we learn about ourselves and the world around us, realizing that our worth isn't confined to any single opportunity. What new paths might open up if you embraced each rejection as a stepping stone rather than a stumbling block? Each new experience adds resilience to our character, preparing us to handle future rejections with even greater grace. In expanding our horizons, we become less attached to any one outcome, cultivating a sense of fulfillment that is rooted in exploration and growth rather than validation. This approach liberates us from the need for approval, allowing us to live more fully and authentically. Now, as we've seen how new experiences can turn rejection into a source of resilience, let's move to the next lesson: cultivating emotional boundaries, a practice that ensures our well-being while maintaining kindness. 8. Cultivate emotional boundaries. When we face rejection, one of the hardest challenges is managing the emotional impact. Stoicism teaches us that while we can control our responses, we cannot control others' actions. Cultivating emotional boundaries means developing a mental space where we remain kind yet emotionally detached, safeguarding our peace even in the face of indifference or criticism. Why do we often let rejection affect us so deeply? It's common to internalize others' opinions and actions, equating them with our worth. But when we cultivate emotional boundaries, we protect ourselves from such influences, understanding that others' behavior is a reflection of them, not of us. This doesn't mean we turn cold or indifferent. Rather, we learn to interact with grace without allowing external judgments to sway our inner balance. Imagine greeting rejection with kindness but without the weight of expectation. By offering respect and politeness, even to those who disregard us, we embody a strength that is rooted in self-respect rather than validation. When you're in a situation where you feel ignored or dismissed, you can maintain your integrity without allowing it to disrupt your inner calm. Is it possible to meet every rejection with the same poise, regardless of how others respond? This approach helps us avoid the mental strain that often follows rejection. Can we truly separate our self-worth from others' opinions? Stoicism teaches us that we hold the reins to our emotional landscape. Marcus Aurelius reminds us that we must keep our minds fortified against external influences, building a foundation of resilience that remains stable no matter the actions of others. Emotional boundaries aren't about avoiding connection, but about setting limits to preserve our well-being. By defining these limits, we protect ourselves from unnecessary turmoil, maintaining a steady path of growth that isn't easily shaken. This practice helps us handle future rejections with calm, choosing to invest our emotions where they are appreciated and respected. With this foundation of emotional boundaries, we turn to our next lesson: standing confidently in silence, showing strength through composure rather than reaction. 9. Stand confident in silence. In a world that often expects immediate responses and validation, choosing silence in the face of rejection is a powerful act. Stoicism values composure over reaction, teaching us that sometimes the most meaningful response is no response at all. By standing confident in silence, we communicate strength, self-assurance, and independence from external validation. How often do we feel compelled to explain ourselves when faced with rejection? There's a natural urge to justify, to clarify, or to seek understanding. But Stoicism suggests that we can choose a different approach, one that requires no defense. By remaining silent, we communicate that our worth doesn't hinge on others' opinions and that we do not need to respond to every slight or criticism. Could silence, then, be the truest expression of confidence? In moments of silence, we find a deeper understanding of ourselves, free from the need for others' approval. This composure is a quiet assertion that we are in control of our emotional state, that we don't need to explain or defend our choices to anyone. When rejection arrives, instead of letting our words rush forward, we can pause and allow silence to fill the space, showing that our peace is not easily disturbed. Think of a time when you allowed silence to be your answer. Did it convey more than words could have? Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself to speak only when necessary, to let his actions and character speak louder than explanations. In silence, we find clarity and strength, sending a message of self-assuredness without uttering a word. We detach ourselves from the need to be understood, finding instead a profound contentment in simply being. In choosing silence, we protect our energy and direct our attention to what truly matters. This quiet confidence becomes a refuge, a place where we can retreat, reflect, and continue on our path without needing approval. As we develop this practice, rejection loses its sting, becoming merely a moment that passes by without leaving a mark. Now that we've explored the power of standing confidently in silence, we arrive at our final lesson: refraining from revealing our struggles, preserving our strength through internal resilience. 10. Don't reveal your struggle. One of the most powerful lessons in Stoicism is learning to keep one's struggles private, not as a form of secrecy, but as an expression of inner resilience. When we face rejection, the temptation is often to show our pain, to let others see the difficulty of the moment. But Stoicism encourages us to find strength in quiet endurance, revealing our struggles only to ourselves as a practice in self-mastery. Why do we feel the need to display our struggles? It may stem from a desire for empathy or understanding. However, Stoic philosophy teaches that by keeping our challenges to ourselves, we cultivate a deeper internal strength. Could the act of facing rejection privately make us stronger than sharing our hardships with the world? Imagine handling a setback without broadcasting it, choosing instead to face it with dignity. This isn't about denying our pain or pretending it doesn't exist. It's about acknowledging it internally and dealing with it in a way that preserves our self-respect. What if we viewed each rejection as an opportunity to practice this quiet endurance? By not revealing our struggles, we retain a sense of control over our emotions and responses, grounding ourselves in resilience rather than vulnerability. This approach allows us to maintain dignity and composure, keeping our personal challenges private. In doing so, we preserve our energy for the path ahead rather than dissipating it in seeking sympathy. Marcus Aurelius, throughout his reflections, emphasized self-reliance and the strength found in turning inward. He believed that true resilience comes not from sharing every hardship, but from developing a mindset that remains calm, no matter the external circumstances. Can we make a habit of facing our struggles with quiet resolve? By keeping our pain and challenges private, we affirm our strength to ourselves. This inner resilience builds character, allowing us to stand firm in our values, regardless of rejection. When we choose not to reveal our struggles, we mirror the Stoic belief that true power lies in managing our internal landscape, rather than seeking validation from others. As we conclude this journey through the art of turning rejection to our favor, remember each lesson as a tool for cultivating inner peace, resilience, and growth. Rejection need not be a source of despair. Instead, it can become a catalyst for self-discovery and strength. Every closed door, every setback is an opportunity to learn, to grow, and to become a truer version of ourselves. In the end, Rejection is an inevitable part of life, but through the principles of Stoicism, we learn to harness it, turning it into a source of power rather than pain. By embracing rejection as redirection, building inner resilience, and focusing on self-improvement, we transform every no into a chance to refine ourselves. From setting emotional boundaries to cultivating silence and keeping our struggles private, each of these 10 lessons reminds us that our worth is independent of others' perceptions. Are you ready to put these Stoic principles into practice? Each time you face rejection, remember that it's not a roadblock. It's a stepping stone, a new path that beckons with potential for growth. Take this opportunity to reshape your responses, to rise above, and to grow stronger. Thank you for joining this journey with us. If you found value in these insights, please like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. Let us know how you plan to use these lessons in your own life. And remember, every challenge you face is a chance to build resilience and embrace the strength within. Here's to mastering the art of Stoic resilience. Stay strong, stay true, and may each no you encounter lead you closer to a fuller, more resilient self.